Okay, Delta Stewardship Council is called back to order. Okay, members, take your seat, please. Mr. Ray, we are on file item 6B, the rulemaking package, and how would you like to start this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this next element of the package we're bringing to you today is our response to comments that we received on the rules component of the rulemaking package. You know, the rulemaking package consisted of proposed regulation, a statement of reasons, and a cost analysis.
And again, these are simply what we call policies in the Delta Plan transferred to a document for rulemaking purposes, right?
Yeah, the proposed regulations element of the rulemaking package was the regulatory policies of the plan, which then need to be transferred into language that will fit in the state code of regulations. And we've had a team reviewing the comments that we received. And what we thought we would do this afternoon is, review some of the basic materials that we've got before you.
Right.
We've got a staff report that summarizes some of the general comments that we've received on the rulemaking package. And Christy Vosberg from the Attorney General's office will be describing those in a few minutes. And then we've got the rules themselves, which we've provided to you.
This is the matrix form, members.
This matrix format, yeah.
I think we agreed earlier when the meeting started, we're essentially going to work from the matrix form to walk through this process. Staff will first summarize what you've learned, describe the things, point out changes being proposed or not proposed, and then we're going to have public questions from us, of course, but then public comments. Hear the public comments. Then the staff is asking us for guidance. Is this the way you want to proceed? And have you draft the final thing for your consideration in May. So, Mr. Stevens, did I kind of say that right?
Yeah, you kind of did. And just to put a finer point on that, so what we're looking for, and Dan's going to go into this a little more in depth, is we're looking for final direction on making refinements to the regulations that have already been through the public comment period. So we received a whole slew of public comments, all of which we did put up on our website. Dan's going to talk about this again in terms of the process. But we've gone through those, and we're not bringing back to you now all of our proposed responses to all of the comments. Most of the comments are comments that you and we have heard before. And the comments that we're going to raise here at this meeting, pursuant to this matrix, are those that we think have risen to the level that you should deliberate on in terms of refining the regulation that's already out there. So we're in a period of refinement. What we're looking for is general direction from you to go out and actually float those modified regulations with the public for an additional 15-day period. And again, our executive officer touched upon it in his opening remarks. These are some of these proposed modifications are substantial in nature, but they're related, as Chris Knopf said, related to the regulations that have already been floated, and therefore they're only going to require a 15-day period. So I'll turn it back to Dan to go through.
Okay. Mr. Ray.
And what we've tried to do in the matrix is for each regulatory policy, and we ordered them in the order to which you're used to seeing them in the Delta Plan itself. So the numbers assigned to each regulation relate to how they'll appear in the Code of Regulations. The order in which we've listed them here is the familiar order you've seen them in the Delta Plan. And so in each case, we've given you the Delta Plan number and the title of the rule and the related regulation number. We provided a summary of the kind of the key comments we received. As Chris said, many of these are things that we're not suggesting you revise the policies in response to. As I said, we've heard many of these for meeting after meeting, edition after edition, and we think you've reached a point of view, your own point of view about where you want to go with things. But we've also identified comments that we do suggest warrant reconsidering some of the details of the policy, and then so we've provided the policy down here in a strikeout format where you can see in red the new language we're proposing, or crossed out the language we're suggesting be deleted. And then we've tried to provide in the column over here the suggestions about the reasons that suggest the change. And then at the end we'll return to the resolution that we've provided in the earlier part of the report.
Dan, you said somebody on the panel is going to talk about some general comments first before we get into each one, or do you want to go directly to
I was going to suggest, I was going to just talk about the criteria that we used as we looked at these, sort of the screen we ran it through, and again, they are the criteria that the Office of Administrative Law will look at as they review the regulations under the Administrative Procedures Act. Do we have the authority for them? Are they necessary? Do they have adequate clarity? Do they needlessly duplicate the work that somebody else would be doing? And so that's been our primary screen. If it was a fundamental challenge to a policy, the direction that you had already discussed and settled on, we've left things alone. In several cases, people pointed out ways in which the policy was unclear, or maybe we didn't have as much authority as we thought, that result in some changes that look more substantial than others. But in every case, we were trying to make sure we were consistent with the basic and fundamental direction that you all have provided.